I mean, unless those guys that pulled off the Nord Stream and, that one guy that swam up to the Moscow and put the limpet mine on it, if those guys are available, then yeah, maybe they could go big.
Well, the Mossad and the CIA have plenty of those guys in queue. So nothing's outside the realm of possibility.
But yeah, like if there was a complete collapse and the government fell apart and they were completely abandoned, then you figure the elements that probably have the most to lose would probably stupidly try to still fight the Russians, but at the same time probably start attacking NATO people or Western targets for revenge.
Because that would be the easiest way to try to drag NATO into the conflict. If you had Well,
I was gonna say, and he's right about that. I mean, if it gets to that point, you realize these guys got nothing left to lose, and they're going to lash out at whoever they can get on the way down, which would probably be NATO guys, because they're going to feel like those guys left them high and dry.
Yeah, you don't want to corner these people.
Terrorism.
Yeah, you don't want to corner these people so they feel like they're in Warsaw, and acting like a drowning cornered rat, because that's exactly what'll end up happening. So you've got to give them an off-ramp. And the sad thing is there's, with the money coming in from Europe that all these politicians are skimming off, right? And let's face it, if they weren't skimming the money, they wouldn't have all this money for all this real estate they're buying all over the world. I mean, the money grift is amazing, and no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it.
I think another thing we were talking about too is like who really wants to end the war fast? I mean, yeah, I'm sure Russia would love to have like a massive just boom take over everything, but the reality is Russia needs it to go slow enough to where they can get what they want. And Zelensky is in a weird position, because if the U.S. really wants to freeze this conflict and end it on terms that are still somewhat favorable to the United States, or at least there's a way for them to get something out of this more than what they would have got, they need to get rid of Zelensky, put in a guy who will do exactly what the fuck he's told without hesitation, and freeze the conflict. Like, let's say you get Zelenskyy in there and he's like, fuck it, I'm out of the 4 oblasts, I'm willing to give up this, then they can freeze the conflict, and then they can throw all this shit back on the Russians like, look, we gave them a deal, they don't want it, because right now Trump and Putin can blame Zelensky and the EU for being obstinate fools that don't want nothing. Well, now all of a sudden you get rid of the fucking problem that everybody knows is a problem, which is Zelensky's regime. And Archimedes brought it up, like if there's a collapse and they start fleeing to like Lviv, and of course the friendly Americans airlift them out, and then some horrible person in transit shoots them all down, and there's no Western government, or Ukrainian government in exile in the West, then you get this collapse where you could see the Banderas lash out. Maybe other countries come in to stabilize it because there's nobody there. But yeah, I mean, Zelensky's the problem. And if they can flip the script on the Russians by getting rid of Zelensky and putting a guy in there's like, yeah, I'll give you the oblast, I'll give you, because they want it frozen right now. And the Russians, they probably wouldn't mind it ending, but they obviously have more land that they need to control and have more say over. So, ending it quick isn't really going to benefit the Russians right now, because I still think they've got to get to Odessa somehow. They've got to link up with Transnistria. They've got to secure Kryvyi Rih because there's a nuclear plant. They've got to secure Chernobyl. Kiev has to be put on notice or punished or whatever you want to do. Kiev, that city's debatable what's going to happen to that, where it's going to end up. But yeah, so
divide it like Berlin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like it's an open city between the Russian federated territories and whatever the West comes up with. But yeah, I mean, right now he's like the only thing holding it up. And I mean, if the America's smart and wants to freeze it, why don't you ice Zelensky and his regime and put in a new guy? But you can't do that.
I just had an epiphany, Vaughn. What if the only reason why Zelensky's still there is because Putin and the United States both need a fall guy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's the perfect fall guy for everything right now, especially. I mean, you can't get a deal. It's Zelensky. You can't get this. It's Zelensky. This is, another stupid offensive. It's Zelensky. I mean, like I said, the smart move would be to ice Zelensky and his regime, put your yes men in there, and then offer the Russians what they want. And then when they reject it because they don't have some of the things they really want, then you can start saying, "Oh, it's not us; it's the Russians now." We got rid of all the problems, and now the
maybe
Russians don't
Putin.
want peace. But it could be an agreement too.
He is our yes man.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. You think. Oh, go ahead and read the super chat.
So, Bunker Housing said, everything since the start of humanity is to get a hold of taxpayers' money. That's what everything have always been about, from when we left the cave to feudalism to today. Oh,
no lies detected.
Yeah.
Yeah, except getting a hold of taxpayers' money by politicians. I think that's.
And I think the other thing that people I don't want to say they don't understand, but I think the reality of the situation is there's only two people who matter in the end, and that's Putin and Trump. Because those guys are going to make the deal. It doesn't matter what Ukraine thinks. It doesn't matter what the EU thinks or the little piddly chihuahuas think. So it's like you really got to worry about, is the United States going to go ahead and pull the trigger to get the deal they want that disadvantages Russia, or are they going to leave Zelenskyy there so Russia can keep grinding away and get what they want, and then they'll just kind of slowly back out, like you were saying, let Europe carry the water. We slowly back out, and then eventually the whole thing goes the way.
And see, that's why I just had this epiphany as you were talking earlier, that maybe that's the reason Zelenskyy hasn't gotten off. If he's gone, there's a vacuum and things change, and we no longer have anybody to blame it on. If Zelensky's there, Russia gets to grind on the Ukraine. The United States gets to say that they're hands off and doesn't get involved. And who does this hurt the most? It hurts Europe the most. Why? Because they're trying to backfill. It's bleeding them all kinds of money. The money's going into Zelensky's pocket. He gets blamed for it. But we make sure he stays alive.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously serving a purpose right now.
I'm thinking that's actually what he is. He's our patsy. Otherwise, we'd have gotten rid of him already.
We'll change his name to Baltimore. What's that fucker's name? The guy that shot Kennedy.
Oh, Oswald.
Yeah, Voldemort Oswald.
Yeah, Voldemort Oswald. If you believe Oswald pulled the trigger.
Oh, I know, but I mean, there's just so many things going on with Ukraine right now. It's like,
yeah,
it's kind of unique. We were talking about it. It's like, if they get rid of this motherfucker, they could probably freeze the conflict and get what they want, or try to get what they want for the West. But as long as he's there and he's obstinate, it's going to keep going, which benefits Russia because they're going to keep taking the territory they need to secure, and it'll make it worse. There'll be more reasons to give a security agreement when you've destroyed your opposition's proxy army. But I mean, we were saying too, some of this might take another 2 or 3 years, which it might not even be finished up by the time Trump leaves, But I would think if the U.S. really was serious about freezing it, they would fucking kill Zelensky's regime off and then put somebody in there that would immediately agree to the terms they've already had in Alaska and shit, which the Russians would probably. I don't think they really want that agreement taken yet, because I really do think there's other things to be considered, like Odessa and the other side of the river, because there's stuff over there that like the Ukrainians, they're always talking crazy about making dirty bombs and shit. They don't need whatever's left of Ukraine. Doesn't need Chernobyl. They don't need Kryvyi Rih. If they want electricity, they can buy Polish coal. Miro's got lots of.
They can dig their own coal. There's plenty of that coal already in developed coal beds.
There's other means they can get energy without nuclear power, and that's probably another reason why you can't let them have that kind of shit. I mean, look what they do. They shell nuclear power plants. They send commando raids at them.
Yeah, they don't need anything that's beyond the
Middle Eastern country like Yemen doing that shit. We'd be thumping the fuck out of them too, because we don't want people fucking with nuclear power plants. So the idea that they get a pass on that is kind of bullshit anyway.